specifically goes over how you all would like to focus our hiring process. There were items given to me by the commission in August that they wanted specifically focused on. So I will pass out this in just a moment and have each of you give me your thoughts, or you all can comment, or we can rate them as a group. Currently, the city does not have a standardized point system for applicants. We do have different interview applicant scoring once they're in the interview process. But as far as determining most qualified, that is not defined by our hiring processes. So what this will do is what the commission gave us. It goes over what's a requirement, what's preferred, do we want to add point values to them? And is there a priority ranking? So is there something on this list that I'm going to pass out to you all specifically that is more important than something else?
How about if I do it? Okay.
Each one of them will get one of these. Carry too.
Bridget, this is Roger. Is that a list that I already have?
No, you actually haven't received it yet. I'll be able to email you one. Let's see. So if you, I need one in the back, perfect. So if you look at the first page that I gave you, it goes over qualifications and skills. And the top is the application, the resume, job description, all of those already checked required. And that is because they are required as part of the job application. Next, some things that were discussed in the commission meeting focused on local government experience, Florida government experience, Monroe County experience, federal government experience, NIMS certifications, which is the incident management for emergency management, and a certification in NIMS is higher than just ICS, which is Incident Command Center qualifications, certifications, budget experience, including funding types, a master's degree, a bachelor's degree, and sea level rise, disaster management, planning and land development regulations, and city ordinances. Now, this is where I wanted input from the advisory board on how you would prefer these to be ranked, have some discussion on what you would like to see from these, as well as the commissioners will be getting these in an email after today, and we can figure out how we should rank them if you would like them ranked for moving forward with applicants. You've all been able to see the matrix. The matrix shows those employees that are located in Florida, which was one of the requests of the commission, and those located outside of Florida with Florida governmental experience. Those with completed applications are what you have received printed out today. Roger, you have that on the completed applicants matrix that you had. So at this time, I would want to open up that for discussion if Carrie's okay with that, and get your feedback on this form. You'll be able to keep yours, and then once I hear your preferences, we would be able to move forward. As of today, there are a total of 32 applicants. Only 8 have completed the full application. So we do have some that don't have that Florida government experience, don't have emergency management experience, and I believe if you look at those, which are the incomplete applications on the matrix, that will most likely, if we don't get more information soon, they'll be not moving forward in the process, just because they're not an applicant that meets the minimum requirements, which is what I was hoping we could work on today.
So I have a question.
Sure.
When I was going through the job description, it said required minimum qualifications, minimum of 5 years of local government management experience. But I saw that there are a lot of applicants that didn't have that experience, and it doesn't appear to be a requirement on your sheet you just sent out?
Well, so the Florida government, the time amount that's part of like, what's the priority, what's the ranking for the governmental experience? The 5 years is listed on the job application. There are some that may have better experience, but only 3. Is that
So
something that,
that's really not, the 5 years is not a,
the 5 years is preferred, if I remember correctly on the list?
I didn't, it says, I didn't read it that way because it says preferably at the deputy assistant city manager or city manager level. I didn't see that it was a preferred. I felt like it was a requirement.
Right, okay, actually, you are correct. It's the minimum requirement to have 5 years of local government management. We have quite a few applicants with director level experience, but not assistant city manager or city manager. If we wanted to look at that, based on the applicants, I believe we're down to 4. My estimate, for those that have been a city manager or assistant city manager in Florida.
And it would be local government management experience, not just local government experience. Because I saw there was, I don't know, it seemed like there was an employee that didn't have management experience, but was involved in local government.
There was an applicant that way,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes, there are multiple applicants that have different levels
So they
of
would-
local government. So technically, if we did not give an accommodation for that, or as a group didn't say this person's total package may not have that 5 years, and we can go on, but everybody who we made that accommodation, who had that same background, would need the same accommodation.
That's fair.
So we did not change the job description during the commission meeting. We used the job description from 2022, just re-updated it for this date. So this was the job description that we had on file.
And you're saying we're able to change that?
You can give an accommodation or we can not make it. It says it is a required minimum qualification, but if the hiring advisory board says this person's total package is willing to accommodate for those 5 years, and we do that for every applicant, yes, we can accommodate.
Okay, maybe that's something that we should discuss. I'd like to say that, myself, I'd like to see that not be a minimum requirement and open it up so that all applicants have that benefit of not having a minimum of 5 years local government management experience. I just think that that wider net, I'm okay with everybody else getting that, that same requirement. I think it might help us to not narrow it down at the beginning, so, just me. I don't know how you all feel about that, but,
I would agree with that.
okay. Should,
So I
should we
guess
make
I'm
that in the
gonna
form
ask
of a
as a-
motion, or?
I have a question.
Yes.
I haven't looked through all the applications, so and applications have not closed, right? So
Correct.
I'm wondering if we should, I don't know, do we have to make that decision now, or should we wait to the next meeting to see what the applications are? I don't know if everyone has looked at all the applications.
point.
I haven't looked at them. So I'm sort of been waiting till they're closed to look at them. But, I agree that, the way I look at this is we should look at the applications holistically. And I think that's the spirit of what I'm hearing from others here. And, but I think that almost everything in this list should be preferred. I think that, and something that's not on this list should be very much almost automatically considered, and that's someone with certification, a CPM.
Okay.
I think anyone with a CPM, at least we should look at. And that would be something that, the certified professional manager certification, that to me is someone we should at least interview. That's my take on things. But because that person would have all of these things under their belt on the list, I would think. So
It's not a requirement to
Right.
have
CPM, right?
ICS, NIMS, disaster management, they have some experience, but their disaster management may be a wildfire. We do have some applicants from California.
not-
So those are the kind of things where
But CPM, someone who's certified,
public manager may not have hurricane experience, which is what we.
Okay,
So,
I understand.
So I think if we keep within that local area that we had talked about at the commission meeting, it's not excluding somebody, but it makes sure that they have the skills and the emergency management that we want.
but these are, what I'm just talking about is the preferences. And someone who has the CPM, I think we should definitely look at the application. But, you know, we may not have a whole lot of applications with local municipal experience. We may not have, and again, I haven't looked at them thoroughly, Florida government experience, but that's, should be a preference, obviously. I mean, we have a position that has to deal with state statutes and other taxing authorities and state Florida agencies on a, you know, almost daily basis. So I would think that that would be important. And so Monroe County experience, of course, that would be preferred. So, I mean, I think that those things, city ordinances, for sure, how to interpret and apply city ordinances, that's done on a daily basis. Land development regulations, boy, well, that would be a plus, right? To have someone who actually understood the land development regulations, because that would be really helpful with a lot of the determinations that a city manager has to make. Disaster management, I mean, all these things would be, I mean, to me, preferences. The only thing I didn't see on there was CPM, which I think would be, for me, the only addition. But I'm not prepared. I mean, I'll go with what everyone else thinks. But like I said, I think we should probably wait on any final decisions till we have a chance to look at the applications and then.
But the way it's listed now, if it's a minimum requirement, that would actually not compel the applicants, because they would hold off and be like, I don't have those 5 years, they may not apply.
That is
So
true.
I would like to see that that's changed right away, if possible. I don't know, that's just my thought.
I would have to confer with Ron, because we didn't change the job description and it was the motion and the time was to keep the job description the way. So we can't actually change the job description for the hiring process, but we can
Consider it.
consider other.
Understood. Okay.
And I want to add one thing, though. I mean, I agree with you. I think that we should have changed the job description at the commission level, but the commission didn't do that.
Right.
And now applications are closed as of 2 days from now. So how do we change it? And is it fair then to all the potential people that were looking at this ahead of time? And obviously people applied without kind of
Right.
ignoring that anyway. And if we did change it, we would have to probably start this process again, I would think.
Yes.
Okay, so
So-
understood. It would be just our consideration that we would allow it as a preference rather than a requirement.
An exception or an accommodation, basically.
Very well.
To the applicants.
Okay.
One of the other topics that I did want to discuss was, we've had a request for the applications to close as of September 20th. I opened applications, I believe, on August 16th. So that would be over 30 days for applications. We've received a total of 32. Are you all okay with that? I'm still giving all applicants until the 27th to get any additional items that may have been missed from their initial application to me. So official date that a completed application has to be to me is September 27th. Is that acceptable for you all to close applications so that you can start actually fine tuning all the applicants that are true applicants at that point?
I have a question about that. So was it advertised to close at September 30th?
Yes.
So shouldn't it be September 30th closing?
We can change it. We can say we've received enough applicants. But if we receive an applicant before September 30th, I don't have to cancel them out. But at this point, I have told every applicant that I've received that everything must be turned in by the 27th, which
Okay,
is,
and-
the 30th is a Monday, I believe.
Okay, and then, so I just want to clarify, on this sheet that you gave us,
Yes.
there are 11.
Right.
There's,
That are completed?
well, there's 8, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then there's 3 on the back,
Yeah.
11.
Did I only print 7
So-
of those?
So
Hold on.
I don't know that, I want to make sure we're talking on the same page here. I think you said you had, how many complete applications?
I think I said 7, but I am wrong, and we're up to 11 as of today. I was
Okay.
working on this morning, so.
Okay,
That's
okay,
okay.
that, now I'm,
And
now,
it's actually 12, Mr.
Is it
Kaufman.
12?
Yeah,
One,
because
two,
of that
three, four,
back
five,
sheet
six,
has
seven,
one hidden
8.
at the very top, see it?
Oh, yeah, okay, 9, 10, you're right, 12. So, okay, so there's 12 complete, and you're telling us that there's 20 additional that are not complete, and you're emailing them and communicating with them that they need to complete if they want us to consider by September 27th.
Correct.
And if you receive a new application that's complete by the 30th, I guess you'll let us know?
I would let you know, yes. Any applications we received that are, they may be incomplete right now because as I was working on the matrix, we have gotten 2 applications in since yesterday. So those are where I'm trying to keep it real time for you all, but also knowing that as you all go in and see, you may not see that I've updated something. So this was 2 that are in the incomplete side of the matrix, not in the complete, because I don't believe they're completely vetted on the application side yet.
So maybe as a suggestion for us to consider, we meet after September 30th at some point, give us some time to review the applications, and then be specific about how we want to narrow them down, or whatever else anyone else thinks. But I would think that, like, I think Ms. Espinosa said that we want to cast the widest net, and I agree with that. And in order to do that, I think we have to spend the time reviewing the applications,
I agree.
at least, I think.
But if I understood you, you want us to come up with a preference now, that before we,
Well,
I've gone through the applications, but to get an idea of how we're going to review these things in our own mind as we go through them in detail.
Correct. And I wanted to make sure that you all agree with all of these items. Obviously, they are preferred because they're on the job description. But my question was, as a group, I wanted some discussion from you all, so we're all on the same page as you review them. You know, is there a ranked per, like, process? Or, you know, is Monroe County experience higher than Florida government experience, higher than federal government experience? You are the advisory board. I can make my own decision as a hiring manager, but I have a team to help me look at all these, and I would like to be getting input from the team that this is what the citizens of Key West want. So if you all were to tell me, you know, this person had local government experience, this person has Monroe County experience, I think Monroe County should go above local government.
I agree.
That's what I would like to hear from you all on these items, so that as I start to rank them as well and give you completed applications, I can tell you it met 5 of the 6 preferred things that you wanted, so that you all can then look and see. Now, I will definitely, as you look across the matrix, those things are highlighted. We can easily do a green if they meet the minimum requirement, but adding those, some of them have all of their certifications listed to include their ICMA memberships, NIMS certifications. We do have a CMP that applied, and we have some people with emergency management, like disaster management degrees. So, and that's why I wanted to make sure that you had that quick shot data, because once you start going through them all, you will realize there's a lot of people and a lot of the same names, and it's a lot easier to have it already out in that spreadsheet. But I wanted to make sure I captured the information you needed and wanted in the spreadsheet, so that you're ready to get that quick look and then dive into the ones that you're very interested in.
I would just say, I agree with all of that, having those preferences, but it also depends on the quality of that particular experience, right? So a person could have Monroe County experience, but it could be at a very low level. May not be, you know, at the level of someone in the federal government that has very high management experience and responsibility. So I think for me, I want to keep an open mind at this early stage and see the applications, and then sort of see who's interesting, you know, based upon what they bring to the table for the job. And I'm not making any preconceived notions about any of these applications, because I think that it has to be a wide variety of diverse backgrounds here and experiences and education. So, But I'm also open to whatever anyone else thinks. If you all, I'm not closed to that, making a preference list now and criteria, but that's just how I'm approaching this. I'd like to see like the wholeness of the application, and then, I mean, sort of like college applications, right?
I
We're
know.
looking at, you're probably thinking that, like, what's the
What's
the
important
wholeness
here?
of this person, and then will they be a fit for our city?
Well, and I have to, if I may interject, I agree, because I also feel like to define the matrix without seeing all of the applicants
Right.
and what levels of experience that are gonna go into that matrix, it's hard to put a preference on one when you don't even know which one may also still come to the table.
Roger would like to speak when it's appropriate.
Go ahead, Roger.
And I guess, no one saw my raised hand. I would, I tell you, Bridget, after the conversation we've had already, I have a lot of confidence in you and your team's ability to kind of rate and screen and to try to get this group to agree on a ranking scoring type matrix might be very difficult. But I think if you do something simpler, like on the preference items, 3 totally strong and meets the preference, maybe 2 kind of borderline, sort of has the preference, sort of not, or 1, has no experience in that preference area. Maybe you can come up with a simple 1, 2, 3 scoring to at least have, we'll still look at all the applications, but at least we'll have a point total based upon your team's in-depth evaluation and your ranking of all the preferences by a simple point system, if that makes sense.
And I agree, I can do that if you all would like. I did not want to put influence on the advisory board of those that I saw as a very viable candidate before you had a chance to look at all of them. So I am fine with working on my own list while you all work on your list. And then when we meet again, after you've had time to review all the applicants, I can give you my top 7. You all can give, and that's something we have to discuss too, is how many do we want to put in the top? I keep using the number 7 because somebody asked me one day and I said, well, if we have 10, 7's a lot. If we only have 7, that's a whole lot. But it just seemed like a round number. I think they brought forward 5 to the commission on the last hiring.
Well, one withdrew. It was
One
five,
withdrew,
yeah.
but it was 5. And that's something we can discuss as we get to those that we deem fully qualified.
Right.
At 32, 7 seems like a very small sample from the pool. But if we have dwindled down the group at our next meeting, then, we can figure out, do we want a percentage? Do we want an exact number? There are a lot of things to discuss as we move forward. But I think the biggest discussion for me in asking about these items, do you want them on quick record for yourselves while you're doing the review process? If not, we can hold off on that. And then as we close the application process, we can definitely plan to have certain questions answered. With the 5-year minimum requirement, we can give an accommodation, but I will definitely reach out to all the commissioners. I know that you all are in contact with them, but I will be reaching out to say, is that something that you all are willing to? And we discussed that there were some things about the job description that they had concerned about during the commission meeting. So that will be one thing I will email them. And as long as they're in agreement with all of us, then we can definitely not hold back on an applicant just because it didn't meet that one requirement.
And just for feedback, I think that 7 is not an outrageous number. And I think it's because when we say 7, let's be clear, we're talking about those that we would recommend for interview. So I think that the interview being where, that can be really compelling reasons for hiring that come out of the interviews. And I would want, the commission to have the best choice possible for interview. And that can really usually bring forth, or you'll see your top 3 maybe rise. And I would recommend that potentially they would do a second round of interviews, that you do interview to get to, your 7, and then maybe do a second round if the commission deems it's necessary. But I think that could be maybe a little bit more in depth, so.
I think that's really good and smart, because the last time we did this, I did interview the top 2 candidates twice. And for that very reason, and there was from my memory, there was a gap in time between the interview process and then the final vote day, and then so we had time in between to schedule subsequent interviews. But one thought is, remember, every person that we suggest to be interviewed means at least 7 meetings to organize, plus means a budget for hotel and transportation. So I think to me, 7 is probably the high end. I'm only thinking because to organize 49 meetings, 7 times 7, and then the budget for accommodating 7 people. You know, I'm perfectly fine with that, but I think once you get beyond that, then you're talking about probably a second day of interviews, just for the first round of interviews with the commission. I don't know. I'm thinking, that's how I'm thinking about it, because I think, because our poor HR director is going to have to organize these meetings, and she's going to have 49 meetings then to organize.
I'd agree, Sam, but I also think that, not to jump the gun, but I think we're jumping the gun a little bit. As a point of order, should we follow and go through with getting us organized and then moving on to the actual timeline? And
Yeah, we're just talking in general.
right.
Well, but since we're on that point, I do want to address what Commissioner Kaufman was saying. I'm thinking that, I didn't know this, that 7 times 7, are we saying that the interviews are only conducted one-on-one? That's unusual to me. Okay, so would there be,
Because of the Sunshine Law.
but it's an interview, so if you had, because you can't have them all present at once, got it.
Right.
All right. What? An
It's a
actual
public-
Unless the
public
interview was
meeting.
conducted at the meeting,
I
the
see.
commission meeting, which,
Has never been done and never will be. Is that what I'm getting here?
I think it'd be hard to get the candidates, to be honest, if they're in a public setting, to be able to answer questions that might be difficult
Okay.
or uncomfortable.
Okay.
Right, and I would share, when we had the opportunity as a commission to ask any questions at interview, there were no questions asked
Oh, okay. Good information.
of the last 4, when the 4 appeared before the commission. There were no questions asked, because I think that they had, partly because they had the opportunity to meet one-on-one.
Okay.
And like I said, I could meet twice with the ones I wanted to meet twice with. So I wanted to say one more thing, and that is, I think, to your point, though, about jumping the gun, I think you're right, because right now, there's only 12 completed applications. So if it's only 12, I mean, that makes our work a lot simpler, I think.
7 is a lot of 12.
Exactly. So it may not really be 7. And then that's another reason why probably not to make too many final decisions today, because in the next, what's today, the 18th? So in the next 2 days or 8 days or 10, 12 days, however we want to look at it, this might double,
Grow.
or might not, or it might be a few more, or we don't know. So, but if it's only 12, I think that puts us in a good position.
I just said 7, like I said, because it just sounded like a really nice number.
Does to me too.
Roger has one comment. I think 7 is the high end, but at the end of the day, I think this group should have the latitude, once the application process is complete, once we've had plenty of opportunity to go through all the analysis and details of all the packages submitted, I think this group might very well decide that we only have 3 or 4 or 5 to forward rather than 7. I think we don't have to forward 7. I think we just look at that as the high end and then forward as many as we decide at the end that are appropriate to forward, if that makes sense.
Okay, we're going to move on. Election of chair and vice chair. So let's do the chair first. Would anyone like to nominate someone?
He's not here, but I'd like to nominate Sean.
The only downside of that is he would have to, usually they, you know.
He's the one with the most experience with various city managers, so
Well, the
kind of
chair
the-
is really just running the meeting, so he'll be very much a part of it. I'm just reluctant to do it without him being here to
Accept.
accept, yeah.
Can we do co-chairs?
You certainly can make a
Why
motion
don't
to
we
have.
do that? Maybe make him with somebody else.
All right. Go ahead and nominate, because then we are going to have co-chairs.
Do you want to make a motion first?
That's what I'm
to-
hoping
to-
that I would make a motion that we consider co-chairs, that we vote for co-chairs, okay?
Okay.
So,
Anyone?
Second that.
Okay. All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Okay. So we have a nomination of Sean Smith for,
Can I ask if anyone else is interested?
of course.
Is anybody else interested? Roger? Ms.
You know,
Esteban?
my availability to be, if I was live, I wouldn't hesitate, but I will not be back to Key West for several weeks.
Okay.
And so I would rather probably, it depends on the timeline. If we're not going to meet again until several weeks after the application process closes, I'd certainly be willing to be a co-chair if that's the case. But timing is such that I think it's hard to chair or co-chair or vice chair when you're remote on Zoom.
That's true.
Well, let's get a second for Sean first, and then we'll vote on that.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, so Sean Smith is one co-chair.
I'd like to nominate Peter as the other co-chair, if you will accept.
I'll second that.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So,
We've got
Peter,
our
you can
two
take over
co-chairs.
if you'd like.
All right, moving on. Our next discussion item is our meeting dates, item number 3.
All right.
So it's my understanding, obviously, that we have a couple of tentative dates that I'm not sure if need to be discussed any further, but tentatively a cutoff date of the 20th with a final date of applications being completed by the 27th, and then there's also the date of the 30th. So could you expand on that a little bit, how we're supposed to proceed with that one? Thank you.
When I was originally asked to open up the position for hiring, I gave a date of September 30th to close. I was recently asked to close the position on the 20th. So therefore, I've made all correspondence partially before the closing date, but I gave all of the applicants that haven't applied a deadline of the 27th to have the additional documentation into me so that I could have the list out on the 30th. Because that's on a Friday, the 30th is a Monday. And to make sure that I had time to ask them for any extra questions on the 30th.
And that request came from the commission?
I am not sure exactly where it came from. It came from management at the city. So if it came as a direction from the commission or it was asked of me by the interim city manager and the city attorney to close it on the 20th.
Well, then I think we probably should entertain a motion to accept those dates. Anyone want to make a motion?
Motion to accept the dates that were recommended
So a closing date of September 20th?
the 30th, because you're saying that it may have come through the commission, so 30th, right?
No, well, I think if it's coming from management, my opinion is if that's what they've requested, that it would be closed on the 20th, finalized by the 27th for reporting by the 30th.
Oh, reporting by the 30th. Okay, I'm in agreement with those dates exactly then. Okay, shut down by the 20th, the 27th for final materials, and the 30th for reporting are the dates that I am proposing.
My concern is only, and I wish our
Point of
city
order,
attorney was
there's a
here.
motion.
Oh, okay.
Is there a second?
Second for discussion.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, okay, so the only concern is that if it was advertised as the 30th, I know I'm being technical here, but if it was advertised on the 30th and someone got their application in on the 30th, we don't want to create any issues. So,
I can't imagine our staff would tell someone.
Right.
We're deleting this one. I mean, I'm sure it would still get through, correct?
if our motion is that we're saying we're not, if we're giving direction, that's what I'm clarifying. If we're giving direction that we're cutting them off on the 20th, any new applications? Because that's really what I think HR is saying to us.
I will close all advertisements on the 20th, is how it will go. So it'll come off the city page, it'll come off ICMA, it will come off FCCMA, it'll come off Indeed.
Right, but
Everything will
if we get an
close.
application on the 30th, it'll be forwarded to us.
It will definitely be
Okay,
forwarded.
okay.
There is no employee,
catch it.
even after we're doing interviews, applications still go forward to hiring managers because we give everyone the
Okay.
opportunity.
Excellent, great, thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Up next is our recommendation to the city commission, qualification preferences and a number of candidates and standard questions.
I think we
Wait,
have to.
meeting
Yeah.
dates. You
I think
I'm sorry, I jumped, excuse me.
We need to-
Meeting dates.
yeah.
We're still on that one. What's next?
For meeting dates, I did get dates from Sean Smith that he is completely unavailable.
Okay.
And two of those dates, one is October 10th, one is October 11th. That is a city commission day, and October 11th, HR is not available either. So those are two dates that we won't be available for the next meeting. But other than that, he said he has a couple lunchtime areas that or mornings that he's busy. But I can make sure that if you all establish a time that you prefer to meet, we'll make sure that what his availability and the availability Roger has given me will meet with those two.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
can I suggest either October 7th, 8th, or 9th? Because then that way our recommendations could go to the city commission on the 10th.
Cool.
And that would give us a full week to read any and all of the applications.
If I might comment on that, just
Please,
because
Roger.
my schedule's a little bit crazy. So I imagine what my process, and everybody has their own process, but since documents and applicants and information might still be coming in through the 30th, I'm probably going to wait to dive into the details when all the information has been provided us and is complete after the 30th. And that process, depending on how many final ones we're reviewing, is obviously going to take some time. I'm unfortunately hiking on Appalachian Trail and will have limited access to Zoom or to internet at all through about October 10th or 11th. Come out of the woods on the 12th, and I'm available remotely via Zoom the 12th through the 15th, and I'll be back in Key West on the 15th. So if we can give ourselves an extra week to get through the details to allow me to get back to Key West so I can meet with this esteemed board in person, I would appreciate it.
That's fine with me.
My question, and Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, or you've served on this committee before?
No, I served on the search committee for the city attorney.
For the city attorney. Has anyone, well, and my question is really, is this a one more meeting and done? Or is this?
Oh, no.
That's what I thought. So, I mean, is it gonna be realistic that we can actually have a chance to review these if we were able to call a meeting date for the 7th, 8th, or 9th and actually have something worthwhile to bring to the city commission yet? Yeah, it's kind of up in the air, so. But I'm also of the opinion that we don't want to slow this down any more than it already is, because there is so many applicants and so many interviews that still have to go through the city. So it's my opinion that we have a meeting sooner rather than later to get the ball rolling and get the process and start drilling down as fast as we can.
I'm inclined to agree with you. And I think that if we did a meeting on the 7th, 8th, or 9th, why couldn't we meet again when Roger was back in town a week later? I mean, I think it's appropriate to have weekly meetings until we get going where we can vet things out better. Would everybody else be able to do that? Like potentially a meeting on the 7th and then again on the 15th when Roger's back in town?
It's good for me.
I think that works well
Okay.
for me.
The 15th is actually my travel day, so if we could make it the 16th,
Well,
that'd be
fine,
great.
16th, okay.
And what time works best for everybody?
I am out of town the morning of October 7th. I fly into Key West. That's probably like 10:30.
I mean, evenings are booked pretty much in Chambers, so if everybody's available late afternoon, that is ideal
Seems to
for
work.
Chambers.
Works fine for me.
Okay. Should we stick with 3 o'clock? So we're choosing
Monday,
October,
October 7th and October 16th.
Okay.
Roger, is that good for you on the 16th?
The 16th work, and I'll play the 7th by ear because we are staying in hostels and hotels on several of the nights, and there might be a chance.
Do you want
that
me
I
to
can
send you
adjust
Starlink?
There might be a chance I could adjust my hiking schedule to be there at 3 p.m. on the 7th. So that'll work fine with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. And that works with Sean's schedule as well?
I'm opening it up. The 16th was not on his,
oh, I have his email here.
I have it on the schedule already for those weeks. October 16th, he did not have listed.
So that'll
So-
work.
So that'll work.
All right, so is that a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion, comments, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Was that, who was the second? Was it? were you
Yes,
the-
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Now we can move on to item number 4, recommendation to city commissions. Qualification preferences, number of candidates, and our standard questions. we'll open it up for discussion.
Okay. So we got into that a little bit.
So this is where we can go at it. Yeah, this
Okay.
is where we get all the, need out what we need to, what else we're looking to see and how we want to qualify these, almost kind of going back up to the top as well.
Okay, so for myself, looking at the matrix, the preference, I mean, I'd like to see that the Monroe County experience is a preference. And that one to me seems pretty big because I think that, at least in my experience, what I've seen is, management level hirees and not having knowledge of our culture and our, at least our county, I think has been a detriment to certain applicants. Even something as simple as, just not being familiar with the cost of living here and then running off when you figured out this isn't doable. As well as just an understanding of everything that makes us sort of unique in Monroe County, including Key West. So for me, I'd like to see that as a preference. Later, I have a question about sea level rise, because I just see that state. What is that? What would that qualification look like? Sea level rise, is there a certification or something?
No, it's just listed on the job description as a requirement, and it was mentioned that they would like someone who has experience in sea level rise. Sea
Oh.
level rise right now, it could mean anything. It could mean they could be a certified floodplain manager. It could mean they
Oh.
have an environmental background. It could mean they have some sort of emergency management experience with the state of Florida. But sea level rise, it's mainly focused on all of our environmental conferences and building standards, things like that. But it's just listed on the
It's
job
wide
description.
open, okay.
It's a very wide open, and that's one of those things of, I can look back at our previous city managers and sea level
Okay.
rise was not something they had, but it is listed on the job description. So if that's not a high priority, I will take that off the matrix as something that is a nice to have, but is not gonna be the end all be all, like having a degree. Which is basically where that comes down. If you look at the job description, we have 27 things that we want this person to embody. And of those 27 things, there are some things that they're probably not going to have. And if sea level rise experience is one that we're okay with not being on the matrix when we try and rate someone, I am fine with that. I just want your opinions and your input because we don't have a lot of people that came in with experience, but I'm not sure that that's something that we want to have experience over somebody who has experience in land development, where that's something that's a very big discussion point for us in Key West right now, or have, disaster management when we know that a hurricane hits. Knocking on wood, I'm sorry, I
Understood.
shouldn't have said that. But we know that we will be affected by a hurricane at some point. So those are the things that is where I wanted to make sure I was on the same page as all of you.
Gotcha. So yeah, for me, Monroe County experience, maybe not so much sea level rise. I mean, it's interesting and I know it's a reality, but I don't know that that would be like a, die on that hill. As far as the disaster management, I think that's potentially pretty important for the city. And also the budget experience, I would rank as like maybe top for preference. I think budget experience is extremely important. So for me, if I were to rank in that order, I would say Monroe County experience would be 1, budget experience 2, and then disaster management 3, if they were preferences. I don't know what you guys feel.
I think, Mr. Chair, if I may, what resonated with me at this juncture was that I think they're all preferences. We're all going to individually rank them. I think there's certainly some 1A, 1B, 1Cs on here. Some that you wouldn't say if you only have this, that over, or that's, supersedes everything else. But I think right now, we want to look at these holistically. We don't have every application, and I think it's going to be a lot easier to dig into this. What makes a lot of sense is, when you guys are looking through this saying, this candidate has, more than 7 of these, between 4 and 7, and, less than 4, something along those lines. We're all going to individually, state and rank these based on our own preferences and what our, corresponding commissioners would like to see. So I just find it hard, right now to rank this without seeing them. But I know that as these applications are completed and not coming in anymore, it'll become more clear. That's just kind of my approach at this point.
And we can definitely have the total preferences of this. I didn't know if there was any additional, Commissioner Kaufman added the certification. It is on there, but if they are a certified public manager, I will make sure that's added onto the list. If there are any other items that you would like to have on that matrix, I guess is what I'm looking for from you all, that you will be able to see and have some detail on. If you looked at there, it does notice notes, which is something that was given by the last hiring by Ms. Higginbotham, and that was not even public record search, just Google searches on people, and you can see previous experience, previous news articles, last position or the current position they're holding, just some information for you all, and that is available too. And then finally, we'll have just their personal information if we end up getting to that point for interviews. But that's all I just wanted to make sure that I'm giving you all of the information you may want and requested, because if you look at our application, it doesn't always give you all of the data easily legible. And I thought if we had the matrix, you all would be able to give your scan, change it, download it for yourself and change it however you want. It'll just be that we're all on the same page of what the priority was.
Yes, and thank you, and I definitely think it helps. I mean, it's made it a lot easier for the parts that I've gone in depth. I've only looked at the ones that I've completed. I haven't gone into the other ones yet. I think that sounds great. Does everyone agree with that? Because it makes a lot of sense to me. Commissioner Kaufman?
Mr. Chair, yes, I think it would also really help us if we could get some information on the certifying agencies. You know, what is a CPM, right? What is the NIMS? What is the ISC? What is the agency that what is it called that all public managers in the state of Florida are members of? What is it called?
The Florida City and County Managers Association,
Right.
FCCMA.
Right. I think having that information, like just a summary of what those are, so that we can evaluate these applications compared to what the standards are with regard to those certifications. I mean, the ideal candidate, not that we're going to have that, but would fit the criteria under those certifications. And I'm not saying we're going to have that, but it's sort of like, as lawyers, you're looking for the board certified, right? What is the criteria for a board certified lawyer? You don't always need a board certified lawyer. I'm not a board certified lawyer. I'm a good one, but I'm a good lawyer, but I'm not a board certified lawyer. I'm not, and there's a reason why I'm not a board certified lawyer. But I still attend the certification courses on a regular basis, you do too probably. And the reason we do that is to gain that knowledge and understand what the standards are and what the newest laws are and what the newest practices are. So that's kind of what I think would help me if I had more information about those agencies and what the standards are.
Mr. Chair, with regarding that next bullet, the number of candidates, we've already kind of set that. I think we said 7, right?
Well, I think we're going to leave that open still. We need to
Even beyond, okay.
I would not like to
Okay.
limit our access to any applicant until we have it completed and closed. And then standard questions. Anyone have any standard questions?
We have standard interview questions throughout the process. Many times, especially in the hiring of a director, which is my experience, which is only a year, I know, at the city, is you always ask, why Key West? What is bringing you to Key West? Because you love to go on vacation here, or because there's a culture that you want to be part of, that you found you loved the volunteer organizations, you're involved in a nonprofit. Those things that make that connection to our city is what we're looking for. If you ask, I have a standard group of questions that I ask, usually focusing on, do they understand the housing cost? We have some that have even said, I have a house in Marathon or whatever. And that works for other positions, but the city manager, part of it is to take up residence in the city. And that may be something that we discuss at a later time too. Is Monroe County okay as opposed to the city? But that's getting really in the weeds. So, but those questions are the questions I usually ask in an interview. Are there questions that you would like when they get to interview? And this is just to start the process in your head, us to ask during that interview process that you think will define some candidates' relationship with Key West versus others.
Well, I think that's a great place to start because, as you said, it's extremely important. If you were to get this job, how do you plan on accommodating it? How are you going to get here? Do you have a place to live yet?
That's good.
I mean, it's a problem that all of us know, and it's very dear and near to all of us. So it's something that's very important, and I think it's going to be a continued rolling list throughout this process that will keep that hopefully growing to create a cohesive list that will actually get us the truth on each one of these candidates.
Mr. Chair? Yeah, and just to add to that, it's really a management issue, and the question I think I would ask is, well, how would you manage all of the 17 or 19 departments that are struggling to find qualified applicants, given the housing crisis? How do you manage this? How do we move into the next century or this century, given the particular needs of individual departments?
Right.
And you know, what sort of policies need to be implemented for remote employees? What experience do you have with remote employees? You know, I mean, I know we're getting into the weeds here, but the truth is that, you know, the city is at a real crossroads here because of housing. I mean, so it's not just this person coming here, but how are we going to effectively manage, how are you going to effectively manage this 535 employee organization when you have, you know, I mean, I have a small business and I have, you know, less than 1.1% of the number of employees, but it's a struggle in my little business, right? We all have that. So, but I don't think we have to get to those questions today, right? These are only just suggested questions anyway to the.
Right, that's why I'm
okay.
saying more of a rolling list to, if there is anything that we all agree to keep those going to fulfill the requirements to make sure we get them all answered.
Right, because I remember we had a list provided to us, a standard, a year and a half ago, we had those standard questions that we could use, and then we had parameters, that, you know, we had guidance, don't ask these certain questions. So that's probably as important, if not more important, from an HR perspective.
So the standard questions and the do not question list.
Well, but I think, oh, excuse me, Mr. Chair, I think we also, though, our role is to provide, I mean, to give you some feedback. At least for myself, I think it would be important to ask questions about their organizational leadership style. I was asking Commissioner Carey, you know, has there been an employee climate survey or something that we could look at? Perhaps I would like to see that, because I do think that this person being the leader in this government agency, that's going to be something that I'd like to see what it is that employees need and want also from this position. Because while their external constituents are important, and they are, there's an equal importance of the internal departments and the employees of the city that, you know, I want to see questions that are related to that. You know, yes, your everything, EQ, everything that's related to organizational leadership. So I hope that, you know, it's broad, but I'd like to see the questions that are on that.
Thank you. Erica, Richard?
Questions.
I think what I would like to do is probably take the next couple of weeks and think about questions and come back with a few questions that each of us may have at that point. Which brings me to my question, Mr. Chair, and how do you see this process? I mean, we've talked about like having a couple of meetings. What is our overall
Great question.
process, goal, timing?
So it is my understanding that the advisory board is an aid to the hiring process. So your input is critical to help me, as the hiring manager, evaluate every single application. So my goal is to gather as many input factors and aha moments as you're reading someone's application, or, oh, did you see this? And make sure that my eyes are open to every single applicant. After that, timeline-wise, I usually take about 30 days to finish a full hiring process. we have some applicants in some departments where it takes 45 to 60 days to vet, to do interviews and things like that. So I know there was a request to have it on certain commission dates. I don't want to be limited by a commission date to have a recommendation. I would like to see how our next meeting goes once we're closed, how many total applicants we have, and then be able to recommend to the commission. We may have a recommendation for you by November's commission meeting or December's commission meeting. But I don't think the process should be rushed. The application process opened for Ms. Higginbotham in the fall, and she did not bring the final group up to everyone until March. So to have it by October, I don't believe is realistic. I believe depending on how many applicants we get, November may happen, but I think the December meeting is a much more realistic first recommendations because we are hiring the next city manager. This person has to be fully vetted. I also have to work on background verification and things on those that we are going to recommend forward to the commission. Those will take a week to 2 weeks each once we get to that final list. If someone believes we can get it done faster, I'm happy to listen. I just think if we're going to do our due diligence and do it properly, we need 30 to 45 days once we have closure to have the process fully vetted.
And ask, Mr. Chair, just to add a little bit. So the other thing to think about are these are all professionals, and to get them to travel here, I think you're going to have to give them several weeks, if not more, to organize that in their schedule. So there's that also in addition to that. And then I really like the attitude of this group because if I recall correctly, in the last time we did this, the commission actually added a person that was not recommended to be interviewed. So I think that at least that commission is a different commission, but I think that it's fair maybe to expect, reasonable to expect that the wider cast is the word that you used. It makes sense because I remember that do you remember that? We added two. Oh, we added two in the last time. So it makes sense if we have someone that's maybe close to being considered. I mean, it only just takes a commissioner and a second and a vote to add the interview process, and that's probably going to happen. So maybe that's something to keep in mind.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on. Unless anyone else has anything else to say, we can adjourn it and be ready for our meeting on October 7th at 3 p.m.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I think we're required to do public comment, right? Is that before we adjourn?
Oh, thank you. I
Just
did
as a
not
public
see
meeting.
that. And is there any
No one
public
signed up.
comment?
No one signed up.
No one signed up? Anyone on Zoom? Roger, are you good?
I'm good, thank you. I look forward to seeing everybody in person.
That's great.
Sounds great. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Bye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Great. All right.